Evening, welcome to the Rams Review, live from Pride Park Stadium. Owen Bradley with former Derby captain Sean Barker alongside, here to bring you some reaction to another defeat for Derby tonight. The Rams battling but losing 1-0 to Sunderland here. And the contest decided by a goal from Elisa Mayenda midway through the first half. This was a makeshift Derby team, no recognised central defender in the side tonight, but Derby were excellent for long spells and really had Sunderland worried in the second half in particular. The visitor has a goal disallowed for a bizarre reason, which we'll discuss in a moment or two. They look to have gone 2-0 up second half, but it was ruled out. We'll get to that, Sean Barker, in a moment or two. But what's your main takeaway from tonight? Defeat, but things to be encouraged by?
Yeah, there's certainly things in that second half to be encouraged by. The first half felt a little bit tentative and we were second best in all reality. Sunderland with the better side, better footballers in that final third. Bellingham in that central area was always driving, always committing defenders, and we lost the ball for the goal in a really dangerous area. And I mentioned a few times that in that central area you can't lose the ball. They countered quickly, got a goal, and in all truth that we were second best for 45. Whatever was said at half time, whatever the intent was completely different in the second half. The press was more aggressive. We bumped on. We went back to front quicker. We tried to stretch the pitch, which was something I mentioned in the first half, saying we weren't really testing that back line of Sunderland. And all of a sudden, changes made, substitutions. Corey Backett-Taylor was outstanding once again down that left-hand side. Salverson makes clear what he's about in the early stages. He had a couple of chances that the keeper made a couple of really, really good saves. So lots of positives. We're looking at fight and desire to try and get a result that was certainly there in that second half. We're looking for a central figure in the box to try and get on the end of crosses, which we know we like to use our width. We like to put balls into the box. It was just a shame that we couldn't get anything from it, and injuries, you know, with Wilson, we're missing a couple. Wilson came off injured, Brown came off injured. We had the last 10 minutes with only 10 men. So lots of positives in the second half, and that's what we need to focus on at this point when things are going against you. Yeah,
maybe things might have been different for Derby if they did have 11 on the field to finish the game, but Dijon Brown forced off with injury. So was Kane Wilson. Let's get some reaction from downstairs. Here's the Derby boss, Paul
Bourne. Well, I come in disappointed we haven't got anything, even though we played the last 10 minutes with 10 men. But I just thought it was a bit Jekyll and Hyde from us, really. I don't know which is the good part of Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know which one it is. But I just thought first half, you know, we tried to send them out really positive. We just looked a bit nervy on the ball. Obviously, with Nels, Nat, Cash, we had to, you know, we didn't have any centre-halves fit, so because the way Sunderland play normally with a five up top, although today they played with a two, but they normally have five across the front line, a bit like Man City. We just thought if we play with four and have two non-centre-halves, we're going to have a bit of a problem. So it probably took the lads a bit of time, longer than expected. Look, prior to us doing training yesterday, we had no Cash, we couldn't start Ozzy. Ibu we thought was out with a bad groin, and then luckily we got news last night that he'd be okay, and he was pretty colossal along the back line. But I just thought we were really nervy first half. The goal was probably their first, they have two shots on target first half possibly, but that aside, I just didn't think we played with enough personality. That's my honest opinion. And I thought second half we did, and you know, I said this to the lads that your performance levels were enough to win any game in the second 45 minutes, but you can't let 45 minutes go. And I just didn't think, for whatever reason, it's on me as always. I take the blame, but I thought I sent them out really motivated to start well, and we did start okay, but it just looked a bit timid. And look, a massive thanks. I appreciate the position I am in, but I appreciate the massive help the fans gave the team. Second half they were brilliant, and appreciate the people who stayed and clapped the team off, because the lads literally gassed out. And we started having some real joy, and Dage could have scored on his first touch from a corner. We had a couple of great balls in, and this is why, you know, to Lars, and this is why I've been saying for 2.5 years virtually that we have to have a focal point at the top of the pitch, someone who can win headers between the sticks. And I thought Lars' performance was excellent, but, you know, we have to be careful because he's only just done about 3-4 days training, so that was obviously a risk, but it felt not worth it. I don't mean it like that. I just thought he's looked after himself, so he's in good shape. And then I thought like the Corey done well, Tom put crosses in, and we just looked a bit more like. And I was really proud of the second half. It felt like, you know, my team, although I don't know what it looked like for you lot, but I just thought that we just showed the opposition too much respect. That's what it felt like. I'm not saying when I watch it back I could be miles off, and that's a really long answer, I apologise, but that's sort of how I saw it.
You've referenced the selection issues that you had coming into this one. Is this one of the more complicated the words team selections you've maybe ever had to make?
Well, I've never done it without. I don't think I've ever not had two centre-halves fit in my whole career, be a player, coach or a manager. So that was pretty surreal. And then we had other issues of monitoring people and that. So it was difficult, I won't lie. But then in fairness, whatever team I put out, I expect a level of performance. So I'm not crying about it. And everyone has injuries. But, you know, we've picked up another 2 tonight, which is hugely disappointing because Kane's been outstanding for us, and then obviously Dave, he'd been on the pitch a few minutes. That was a massive blow as well. So it was a difficult team to pick. Massive respect to my coaches as always. Tried to give them as much as we could. We've done a bit in the dressing room tonight in a meeting to give them more detail on it. But like, and I will say this, but I thought like. You're playing against a team that are used to winning, they're used to being in the lead, and I thought that they lost control of the game and we were really in the ascendancy, and that's what makes me really proud. And when I go home tonight, I mean, I'm definitely due a sleep. I look forward to a kip, and then we try and build the lads for next weekend. But that's I've said it to them, and no doubt they'll say the same thing. That has to be our standard. Like, I don't believe whatever it is, Sunderland are 25 points better than us, or whatever. I might be exaggerating, but I don't believe that, and I need to get that across to the lads. And like I said, you know, the fans supporting the lads, you know, means a lot. It felt like everyone was behind the team, and at the final whistle, everyone was like clapping the players off. So, you know, I thank them for that.
So Derby boss Paul Warne, more reaction to come from the dressing room shortly. Certainly the cliche game of two halves. Barks and Sunderland took their chance first half, got their goal first half, were the better side first half, fair to say.
They were, and when you hear Paul mention about them being rattled, it felt very much like we had to be braver. We had to be braver to put men forward, to press with more aggression. It certainly happened in that second half. And if you allow what is a predominantly young side to have the ball when they're technical players, they were very reliable with the ball, 1 and 2 touch. They could drive with it in space. Now, if you allow the opposition that little bit of time, that little bit of freedom, especially away from home, they'll punish you. And I thought a couple of occasions in the first half, we were too passive. We weren't aggressive enough. We weren't dictating what we were going to see from the opposition. In the second half, that changed. So there's things to be learnt from both halves. I know we can look at it in two different ways and say we could have been better first and the second half was better, but it comes as a collective. 90 minutes is what you have to go and win a game of football. You have to learn from the lessons. And for me, it was the bravery, whether that's out on the pitch, whether it's individuals, whether it's a group. And I have to say, it is difficult when you're losing games, but you have to find a way to be that little bit braver. And I thought the second half we showed it. Maybe it was the substitutions, maybe it was fresh legs, but we were a different team and really caused them a few problems.
And Lars Jørgen Salverson makes a difference, doesn't he? As Paul Warne was talking about there, 2 headers, we were right behind both of them and thought both might be going in for a moment. He offers you something different, doesn't he? There's something that Derby haven't really had this season.
He does, and I think we will talk about Salverson because we've been desperate for that striker, but they come as a collective, both him and Corey Blackett-Taylor. The 2-3 chances were created from Corey Blackett-Taylor on the left. He must be knocking on the door now for a few starts in the team, because the threat that he's given this team in the last couple of games from second half substitutions have been crosses, direct running, aggression with the ball. And if you've got a centre forward that plays in the box, both chances were playing on the blind side of the centre half. Now, if I'm a centre half and I'm looking at the ball, I can't see the striker behind me, and all the best number 9s that I played against were on the far post. If you look back to Stevie Howard's time here, far post, waiting for the ball to be in a wide position, waiting for the defender to be turning and looking at the ball and playing that wrong side. And that's how he got his chances from 2 glorious balls from Corey Blackett-Taylor. So there's the positives. We've been looking for that striker. He's clearly the striker that we've been looking for. And not just saying that, the movement off the ball and runs in behind were impressive as well. We were up there, we saw it. Those little details could make a big difference at the end of the season.
One confusing moment in the second half, and we've asked Yakov Zetterstrom about it, and he's none the wiser. The disallowed Sunderland goal, which we're hearing from down in the tunnel from the Sunderland camp after the game, they've spoken to the officials, is given for offside. But we were, I think, both slightly baffled at the time as to why it was disallowed.
Well, I thought it was onside first and foremost. I think I mentioned 3 or 4 times in comms that Fozzie was desperate for a decision to be given for offside rather than expecting it. I thought they were onside. The play was allowed to continue. I didn't see a linesman flag. I know now they raise it later when the ball's actually made contact, but there was contact with a hand. I think Fozzie was claiming for everything, to be fair. Offside, handball. But the reality is it doesn't matter. It kept us in the game. Whatever decision the ref gave, for whatever reason, it did take a long time to make that call. But at that point, it still stayed at 1-0 and you've still got a chance. The frustrating thing was we was down to 10 men in the last 10 minutes. So could we have pushed them more? Absolutely. Could we have made 3 more opportunities in the final 10? Yes, we could. But running out of steam, not having the players on the pitch, having a couple of players going off injury with injuries. When it's going against you, it's going against you, and clearly that's the case at the moment.
Let's go downstairs for more reaction. Here's Yakov Zetterstrom.
It was a game of 2 halves, really. I think the first one we did not perform as well as we could have, and the second half I think it's a completely different game where we create chances, we put in the effort that you have to put in, and frustrating to lose that game, as any loss really, but if you look at the bigger picture, it shows that we are capable of performing at a very high level against very good opposition.
Yeah, how encouraged are you particularly by that spell you had in the second half when you really made things uncomfortable for Sunderland?
Very. I think definitely there's a lot of things to take with us. There are plenty of games left this season, next one coming up Saturday, and you always have to look at the bigger picture. If you perform well, then the results will come as well. And if we perform like we did today, second half, I'm very sure, very certain that we will have a good, very fun and good spring.
Lars Jørgen Salvesen made his debut tonight, almost marked it in a terrific style with those 2 headers that were well saved. Tell me about what he's brought to the group so far.
Well, I can speak Swedish now, but he is a very, very good striker. He with big presence up top and a great finisher to that as well. And I'm very certain that he's going to perform at a very high level this season. I think he did a very good job today, and I look forward to seeing him up front for Derby County.
There was not quite a pivotal moment in the end in the second half with the Sunderland disallowed goal. Are you able to clear up what exactly happened there? Because I think a lot of us were left a little bit confused.
No, I haven't seen it, so I will have to do that. But yeah, I can't give you a better answer, sorry.
That's quite all right. And just to finish, you talked on what you were encouraged by in that performance. Is there a feeling in the dressing room that if you can play like you did in the second half, you'll be okay here?
Definitely. Well, I mean, for one, you have to look at, we have 18 more games to play this season, and but you have to go into every single game with the same mentality as we did the second half. I am sure there's not a single soul in that dressing room that doesn't know how well we can play as a team if we put in the effort. Second half did show that, and. I'm very, very certain that we can have a very fun spring together because we all know how much talent is in that dressing room.
That's Derby goalkeeper Yakov Zetterstrom. 8 games in the Championship tonight. There was a 97th minute equaliser for Cardiff to get them a point away at Millwall in the late game. Cardiff, of course, Derby's opponents on Saturday. Victory for Preston away at Watford, for Sheffield United away at Swansea. Oxford won a barn burner against Luton by 3-2. Victory as well for Queen's Park Rangers away at Hull in another game that affects Derby toward the bottom of the table. Portsmouth, Plymouth, both in action tomorrow. Portsmouth hosting Stoke. Table then. Sunderland gaining a little bit of ground on the top 2. Sheffield United going top of the table ahead of Leeds game tomorrow. Blackburn losing tonight. Big winners in terms of the playoff chase. At the bottom, Derby find themselves just a point outside the relegation zone still. Portsmouth now with 2 games in hand, but even if they win tomorrow, it will be Hull and not Derby that slip into the relegation zone ahead of the weekend. Yeah, massive game for Derby coming up on Saturday. Do join us for the trip to Cardiff if you can. If you want more reaction to tonight's game, you'll get it on the website, dcfc.co.uk. From me, Barks, and the team, goodbye.